Work, 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 work. Hello, boys. Have a good night's rest. I missed you.
A chaotic moment on the set where everything suddenly fell apart. A leading actor, expected to be a star, stepped into the first scene, but his hands trembled uncontrollably, his voice cracked, and then he collapsed right in front of the camera. That was the first day of Blazing Saddles, the comedy that shook Hollywood in 1974, breaking every rule and leaving the world in stitches. I'm your storyteller today, an old friend, and I'm going to take you back to that golden era where Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder, and Cleavon Little came together to create a masterpiece that was not only hilarious, but also challenged the limits of its time. Today, we'll uncover the behind-the-scenes secrets, the little-known stories, and the reasons why. After more than 50 years, Blazing Saddles remains a precious gem in our hearts. You folks, those who lived through the vibrant days of the 70s, get ready. This journey will be filled with laughter, unexpected moments, and a touch of nostalgia for a Hollywood that dared to dream big, dared to do the unthinkable. Sit back, relax, and join me as we step into the world of Blazing Saddles. Let's start with that fateful day on the set of Blazing Saddles. The role of Waco Kid, Sheriff Bart's sidekick, didn't originally belong to Gene Wilder. It was given to Gig Young, an Oscar-winning actor with a stern demeanor and classic Hollywood polish. The studio placed their full trust in him, believing he'd bring credibility to the role of the aging gunslinger. But in the very first scene, inside the jailhouse of the town of Rock Ridge, everything unraveled. Gig Young stepped in, but his hand shook. Sweat poured down his face, and his voice faltered. Director Mel Brooks and the crew thought it was part of the performance, a dramatic moment. But then, mid-scene, Gig collapsed. It wasn't acting. He was going through severe alcohol withdrawal, a personal battle no one on set had anticipated. Within hours, Gig Young was pulled from the project. The set was engulfed in shock, but Mel Brooks, with astonishing composure, refused to let panic take over. He left the set, picked up the phone, and called a friend, someone he trusted completely, Gene Wilder. No meetings, no auditions, not even a formal casting session. Just a simple, heartfelt question, like one old friend to another. Can you get on a plane tomorrow? Gene Wilder, with rare loyalty and professionalism, didn't ask about the script, the role, or the money. He said one word: yes. The next morning, Gene stood on the set, exhausted from a long flight, jet-lagged, and completely unprepared. He hadn't fully read the script, hadn't rehearsed. But when the cameras rolled, he embodied Waco Kid perfectly. Folks, that was a magical moment, when an actor not only saved a film but turned a role into something immortal. From that moment on, no one dared doubt that Waco Kid was made for Gene Wilder. But the story of Blazing Saddles doesn't stop there. Before the cameras even started rolling, another man shaped the soul of the film, Richard Pryor. Mel Brooks invited Pryor to join the writing team, and he brought something Blazing Saddles was missing: boldness, sharpness, and a touch of danger. Pryor's jokes weren't just for laughs. They carried weight, forcing audiences to confront truths about racism, power, and society. Mel Brooks didn't just want Pryor's dialogue. He wanted Pryor in front of the camera, playing Sheriff Bart, because Pryor had the rare ability to make audiences laugh and feel uneasy at the same time, a singular talent. But the bigwigs at Warner Brothers saw things differently. They looked at Pryor and saw only risk. His personal controversies and negative headlines scared them. They refused to let him take the lead, and the role went to Cleavon Little. Don't get me wrong, Cleavon worked wonders as Sheriff Bart, smooth, clever, and unforgettable. But the rhythm, the soul in every line, The sharpness of the film, that was Richard Pryor's mark. He didn't wear the sheriff's badge or ride a horse, but Blazing Saddles carries his voice from start to finish. Dear friends, picture this scene. Warner Brothers executives sitting in a screening room, watching the rough cut of Blazing Saddles for the first time. They sat there, stone-faced, arms crossed tightly, eyes glued to the screen. The satirical jabs at racism, the crude humor, the farting sounds, the guns, and even the scene where a horse gets punched unconscious. It all horrified them. They thought the film was a disaster, a stain on the studio. The original plan was to bury it, lock it in the vaults, and pretend it never existed. But Mel Brooks wasn't one to give up easily. He fought for a test screening with a real audience, unedited, uncut. And that, folks, was the moment that changed everything. During that test screening, the first 20 minutes passed in silence. Not a laugh, not a clap. Mel Brooks must have felt his heart sink. But then, a simple scene broke through every barrier. A group of cowboys sat around a campfire, eating beans, and then a loud, unmistakable fart rang out, bold and unapologetic. Then another, and another. The theater erupted. Laughter roared through the room. People wiped tears from their eyes, slapped their knees, unable to stop. The first fart scene in a mainstream movie shattered the tension, giving the audience permission to laugh freely. From there, the laughter never stopped, spreading from scene to scene until the theater felt like it might explode. Blazing Saddles went from a rejected film to one the studio couldn't ignore. Speaking of Gene Wilder, he didn't just save the film, he brought something special, something no one else could. When he took on the role of Waco Kid, Gene set one condition: I won't play for laughs, I'll play it real. While the world of Blazing Saddles was a whirlwind of chaos, bar fights, crude jokes, scenes that broke every rule, Gene chose restraint. His Waco Kid wasn't a clown, wasn't flamboyant, didn't try to make the audience laugh with big gestures. He was a broken gunslinger, hiding in a jail cell, with sad eyes and a dry voice. Remember the scene where he talks about his trembling hands, once the fastest in the West? No exaggeration, no self-importance, just regret. A sincerity that made you laugh and feel a pang in your heart at the same time. That contrast, a calm figure in the storm, made every line Gene delivered sharper. He didn't need to shout to be heard, didn't need to dance to be seen. He just whispered the truth and let the madness swirl around him. Folks, I know many of us, those who've passed the age of 65, have watched Blazing Saddles dozens of times. Maybe you saw it in theaters in 1974, laughing until you cried with friends. Maybe you've played it on TV, singing along to the silly songs with your grandkids. Maybe, as one fan shared, this film is how you connect with a father who's passed, feeling him still sitting beside you, chuckling at Cleavon Little's iconic line, "Where the white women at?" This movie isn't just comedy, it's part of our memories, a reminder of a time when Hollywood dared to push every boundary. Let's talk about Cleavon Little, who made history as Sheriff Bart, one of the first black actors to lead a major Hollywood comedy. But, folks, that role wasn't easy. Off-screen, Cleavon received hate mail, threats, and insults from audiences who couldn't distinguish satire from reality. But on set, he never let that pain show. He performed with confidence, matching Gene Wilder beat for beat, and turned Sheriff Bart into an icon. He was the hero of Rock Ridge, sharp, witty, and never bowing to prejudice. Cleavon's courage, both on and off the screen, is part of what makes Blazing Saddles so special. Another shocking moment I want to share is the scene where the horse gets punched unconscious. Folks, that wasn't special effects, wasn't edited. It was a real punch, carefully filmed with a trained horse and a stuntman. That punch, captured in a single take, left audiences gasping. Today, a scene like that would never be allowed, but back then it was Mel Brooks' challenge. What can we do next? And the audience loved it. They realized that with Blazing Saddles, there were no limits. Let's talk about Hedley Lamarr, the villain played by Harvey Korman. Hedley embodied the self-important, incompetent bureaucrats, and Mel Brooks based him on a real Hollywood executive. Every time Hedley snapped, "It's Hedley, not Hetty." We could hear the frustrated yells of every producer Mel ever mocked. Harvey Korman played Hedley as if he truly believed he was a genius, even though he couldn't remember his henchmen's names. The result was a villain both despicable and hilarious, one you couldn't help but laugh at as he failed. Another character we can't overlook is Taggart, played by Slim Pickens. Folks, Slim was a real cowboy, with a deep voice, a serious demeanor, and a long career in westerns. When he was cast in Blazing Saddles, no one told him it was a satire. Mel Brooks deliberately let Slim think he was in a serious western, and that was the secret. Slim's authenticity, amidst the absurdity of farting sounds and chaotic brawls, made everything funnier. He didn't wink at the audience, didn't break character. He was the anchor of sincerity in a film full of nonsense. Behind the scenes, did you know the crew often couldn't keep a straight face? During the campfire scene or Slim Pickens' dialogue, the camera shook because the cinematographers were laughing too hard. Once, a boom mic operator ruined a take because he couldn't stop giggling. Mel Brooks even had to shout between scenes, "Stop enjoying the movie, we're still filming." But that joy, that passion, seeped into every frame. When you watch Blazing Saddles, you don't just see a movie, you feel the love of the people who made it. Another unforgettable moment is the ending, where every rule is shattered. The characters leave the film, step into a Hollywood studio and suddenly break into a dance led by Dom DeLuise. Studio executives called it insane, pointless, a waste of time. But Mel Brooks didn't care. He filmed it, let Dom improvise freely, and the result was a perfect climax for a movie that never played by the rules. That ending, with the characters driving off in a limo, wasn't just a joke. It was a statement. Blazing Saddles didn't belong to any genre. It broke every boundary, from story to genre to the screen itself. Did you know Mel Brooks once invited John Wayne, the legend of westerns, for a cameo? He gave Wayne the script, and the Duke read a page before walking into Mel's office. "I love it," he said, "but my fans would never forgive me if I did it." True to his word, though, Wayne showed up at the premiere, giving his blessing to the film that tore apart every Western rule. Recognition from the king of cowboys, folks, was proof of Blazing Saddles' power. Another fun behind-the-scenes story is the birth of Young Frankenstein. During a break on the Blazing Saddles set, Gene Wilder shared an idea with Mel Brooks. What if Frankenstein's heir wanted to escape his family legacy? At first, Mel brushed it off, too busy with Blazing Saddles. But Gene persisted. He wrote a script draft, and when Mel read it, he changed his mind instantly. Young Frankenstein later became a comedy horror masterpiece, and it all started with casual chats on the Blazing Saddles set. That's a testament to Gene Wilder's relentless creativity, not just as an actor, but as a storytelling genius. Speaking of challenges, Blazing Saddles faced the censors. They demanded cuts to nearly everything: the racial jokes, the religious humor, the sexual innuendos, even the "up yours" line at the start. One censor warned Mel, "If you keep this version, you'll never work again." But Mel didn't back down. He fought for every line, every joke, every bold moment. He said, "If you take away the edge, you take away the meaning." And he was right. Blazing Saddles doesn't just want you to laugh, it wants you to think, to confront the truths about racism, power, and society's hypocrisy. The film earned 3 Oscar nominations: Best Supporting Actress, Best Editing, and Best Song, but won none. Hollywood wasn't ready to honor something so daring, but as Mel Brooks once joked, they didn't give us gold statues, but they gave us something better: reruns. And he was right. Over 50 years later, we still watch, still laugh, and still learn something from Blazing Saddles. A fun tidbit I want to share: while the actors crammed into a tiny dressing room, one of the starring horses had its own trailer, complete with a fan, plush bedding, and a personal handler. Gene Wilder once joked that the horse had better accommodations than he did. But, folks, that horse earned it. It was always on time, hit its marks, and never broke character. In a wild movie like Blazing Saddles, maybe it's only fitting that the real star was a horse living in a luxury hotel. Dear friends, I want to take a moment to talk about the impact of Blazing Saddles. Many of us who lived through the 70s remember the film as a cultural milestone. It wasn't just a comedy, it was a declaration of war on prejudice, hypocrisy, and society's invisible barriers. One viewer shared that watching it as a kid made them feel, finally, we're all equal. Another said the film did more for race relations in America than any other work, thanks to the collaboration of Mel Brooks, Richard Pryor, Cleavon Little, and Gene Wilder. Mel Brooks once said he couldn't make Blazing Saddles today. Those jokes, that boldness, wouldn't be accepted, but he has no regrets. He said the film was a product of its time, and it fulfilled its mission, using laughter to expose hypocrisy and prejudice. This movie, folks, is a sharp knife, cutting through society's layers and doing it with a smile. Before I wrap up, I want to thank you, the ones who've kept Blazing Saddles alive in your hearts. Maybe you've watched it dozens of times, knowing every line like an old friend. Maybe you've played it to laugh with family, to remember simpler days. Maybe, as one fan shared, this film is how you connect with a loved one who's gone, feeling them still beside you, laughing at those timeless moments. That's the power of Blazing Saddles. Not just laughter, but connections that transcend time. Dear friends, if today's story makes you want to rewatch Blazing Saddles one more time, do it. Dig out that old DVD, turn on the TV, or share it with your grandkids. And if you want to share your memories of the film, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories about the first time you saw it, who introduced you to it, or your favorite line. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more movie stories. Thank you for joining me on this journey. See you soon, and keep laughing loud, just like Blazing Saddles taught us.